Greetings, old school magic players, and welcome to the Four Horsemen.
Greetings, old school magic players. Welcome to the Four Horsemen Old School Magic Players Group. It's Saturday, December 30th, and we're going to be covering some Four Horsemen Old School Magic Tournament number 10 matches. I'm the Chadster, and if you're interested in playing some Four Horsemen Old School Magic, join us at fourhorsemenmagic.com or facebook.com/groups/4horsemenmtg. I'm joined here today with Terry Phillip Hutchings. How you doing, Terry?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, mate. Thanks for having me on the channel.
Yeah, man. We're glad to have you with the group and glad to have you join us in this tournament. Just a real quick plug. We're going to be doing a Four Horsemen Tournament 11 upcoming in January 13th through February 10th. Got some great free prizes, so for any of the viewers, if you'd like to join us, we allow proxies, and you can see the banned and restricted here, and check us out at fourhorsemenmagic.com. On the video for today, we're going to be covering Terry's quarterfinals match, and this was for our Pauper Doubleton tournament number 10, ran November right up to Christmas. And this was a kind of unique and special spice event that we did that included a pretty limited common card pool. There's 255 cards in this card pool, but some really great, powerful common cards that made for some really interesting decks. Quick look at the brackets. You can see here, Terry is featured in the top bracket set. He's going to be facing off with Max Delanu, and we're going to be covering their match today. The overview of the tournament decks is, as you see here, a lot of the top decks were actually very similar red-blue decks that had, I would say, a lot of cards in common. And we're going to let Terry talk a little bit about his deck, and we'll do a little deck tech for both decks right now. So Terry, I've got your deck up here. Give us an idea of how you went about putting this deck together, and what thought process you used in building this deck.
I just wanted to point out, Chad, that actually I think it says on the title semi-final, but this was actually the quarter-final.
Yes.
So on the previous I did say the final, but so my deck, if you want to show my deck again, if that's okay.
let me fix your slide real quick, because I've made that mistake on some of the other slides too.
Yeah.
It's right. I reuse a lot of these slides between matches, so appreciate you catching that. I can change it on the fly, and we'll have it fixed for the graphics. 1 second.
Excellent.
Okay. All right, so let's get back to your deck picture. You able to see your deck okay?
Can't at the moment. It might be a little bit delayed.
I need to reshare it. 1 second.
Yep, I can see it now. Yeah. So what I will say is I brought Bone Flute in because I was expecting the meta to be full of like two 4 flyers and 1/1 creatures. So I thought with Bone Flute in the main, my opponent wouldn't be able to really deal damage unless they play direct damage. So I thought Bone Flute was really, really good. I also thought it worked really, really well with Orcish mechanics in Sage of Latnam, because in the mid to late game, for example, I can stack those artifacts and actually draw cards or do damage. And that's why I played with like more artifacts than most of the other decks. I played like 2 Fell Warstone, 2 Jalem Tone, 2 Clay Statue, 2 Primal Clay, because I could actually use those useless artifacts. I could ramp out quite quickly with Fell Warstone, but then I could use them for either damage or extra draws in the mid to late game.
Yeah. Yeah, Sage of Latnam is such a spicy include here. You know, for any of our viewers who've watched some of the previous videos, you know, we did Four Horsemen, Pauper, Singleton over the summer. It was very popular, and we had a really wide variety of decks. You know, I would say more of a wide variety than we did with this Pauper Doubleton tournament. Many players realized how powerful red, blue, and green are, but it's really hard to play 3 colors without the dual lands. So a lot of players zoomed and honed in on red blue as really powerful, and we did have a lot of red blue decks. What made you decide to play red blue, and did you check out any of the deck pictures, or what resources did you use to try to narrow down what you wanted to play?
Well, I play a lot of 7-point singleton, so I actually built a blue-red control deck last year that made the finals. So, and I actually played Sage of Latnam and like cards like Brothers of Fire, Orcish mechanics. So I was intending on playing singleton, but so I got a load of cards for that, and then it changed to Doubleton, doesn't it? So I thought, well, actually, I've got a load of cards for singleton anyway, so I thought I'd just go for blue-red control.
Got it.
And yeah, I mean, it did really, really well. Better than I thought it would. What I will say is I actually played the 2 Fell Warstone over the 2 Oasis because for me, I didn't really... I think Oasis is good for like an aggro deck, but I want to keep the creatures alive. But for me, Oasis, I don't know. It feels like I could be using those 2 extra cards for something a bit more meaningful, like i.e. a creature or a removal spell or an artifact. So yeah, I decided not to play the Oasis.
Yeah, and it looks like Peter has joined us. Peter, how are you doing?
I'm very good, guys. How are you all doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing well, mate.
Doing good, thanks,
well,
Peter.
I caught the last bit of that, so very nice to hear about your deck, Terry, and I agree with everything you said. A very solid build here.
So, Peter, we're going to be covering the matches that Terry went in order through the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals. So we're starting with his match versus Max, and we're just kind of covering an overview of Terry's deck first and some of the differences. Terry, all of your matches except for one were they all versus other red blue decks, or did you play? You played a few other types of decks, right?
So I played against blue red in the first match.
Okay.
And in the second match I played against mono white.
Yeah. Okay.
The third match I played against blue red again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the quarterfinal I played against blue red. Semi-final I played against
red green.
Blue green.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, red green. Yeah, red green. And
Yeah.
then in the final I played against blue red again.
Right. So I would say 2/3, maybe even 3/4 of your matches were all against other blue red decks.
Yeah.
And
yeah, very much so.
And you fared pretty well in your pod matches, making it into the quarterfinals here. So congratulations on your run, first of all, and it's also really impressive. We've been playing in the Four Horsemen group for about a year and a half, and this was our 10th tournament, so lots of players have had the ability to kind of really familiarize themselves with the card pool, and that gives them an advantage. You came in as a new player, but you did have the experience from 7-point singleton. I guess that gave you a bit of an edge over some of the other newer players, would you think?
Yeah, maybe. And I also obviously play X points as well. So I obviously watch a lot of YouTube channels. So I watch like Timmy and Gandalf the Dark and
Yeah.
Fox Dead Enemy. So I'm very familiar with like old school cards and what they do. So I think that does help a lot.
Yeah. Well, it certainly showed in your results. So let's take a look at Max's deck. Since Peter's with us, Peter, are you able to see the deck pictures here? Okay.
Yes, and I think I discussed building this deck with Max when he was thinking about it, because he was asking me what I was putting in, and then when he made his own list, and I didn't look at his list or go over it when he finished it, but it's another solid list. I'm trying to look. What's he have over? Is that the ghost ship? Okay, you got the ghost ship over there in the little drawing. I mean, there's a few ways you can take red blue, and this is a different approach. He has less artifacts, although he does have creatures, but he has less sacrifice. Like what I would notice, he has less artifacts he'd want to sacrifice to his mechanic, but he still decided to play it or opt to play it.
Yeah.
And he's taken the other approach too of playing Flood main deck, which can be a very powerful card in this format. And it's actually what I think is really interesting about, because Max's experience, he's played a few of these tournaments now. Terry's experience from 7 points. I think I saw Terry's match, his finals match, when he was on Counterburner Blue Red. And Max knows these cards, and I think Terry knows these cards, but a lot of people don't see these cards, and they really, unless you're playing X points or 7 points, these cards don't come into a lot of main decks. A lot of them are very fringy. I think if I look here to say, well, what would most people know? They probably know the Chain Lightning. They might know the Clay Statue. They'll probably know the Azure Drake, and maybe the Paperback, and that's about it, right? Maybe a Boomerang.
And Pyrotechnics. Pyrotechnics is a great card.
Right, it's a good card too. But outside of 7 points, these are not familiar cards for most people, and what is often interesting about these type of decks is if you look at them, since they're coming up against each other and they're so similar, it's how people decide to use the few options that are available to them, and how the cards are delivered, and often how they choose to play them out, where they choose to use up these very precious and limited resources that they have.
Yeah, that's a great point. And that's part of the fun. It's part of the fun and the interest of the Fringe formats. Four Horsemen, I would say its most unique and attractive feature is you don't see all the usual suspects, as we like to call them. All the Power 9 and all the normal cards you would see in the more competitive, spiky areas of old school Magic. And because the card pool is different, it opens up the possibility to play with these lesser played cards and have them still be relevant, and have those lesser played cards still be quite powerful within the format itself. And that's part of what makes this format fun.
I agree. Except for, funny enough, here we are seeing the usual suspects in this turn. There is a bit of the usual suspects. The red, blue, and these guys specifically.
Yeah. Well, the usual suspects of Pauper have become, the red blue cards you see here.
Yeah. Agreed.
And Terry, did you have some thoughts you wanted to share there?
Yeah. So basically, I was just about to say, Rook Egg. Hardly ever sees any play in 7-point Singleton, but it's an absolute powerhouse in this format. To be fair, it's dealing with a 4/4 in this format is very, very tricky unless you got like Pyrotechnics or a Fisher or something like that, or like a Oubliette or something. It's quite hard to deal with. You got very selective cards to deal with it.
Yeah.
Would you have Boomerang? Specifically in the Pauper version, you would have Boomerang. You'd have a Pyrotechnics. You could try to flash flood it, and then what else do you have left? That's
Fisher.
You have to almost expend 2 cards, Fisher and
Oubliette.
Otherwise, Oubliette is Pauper, right? It is a common. So. Otherwise, you're doing 2 for 1. You have to expend 2 cards probably to remove it, which is great, really. But I think it's still fair because it is a card you have to cast, and you have to find a way to turn it into a 4/4. And sometimes people will find a way to impede you from doing that, and that's to their benefit. That's really using the cards well when you can make somebody not get the value out of their best cards in their deck.
Actually, it looks like Oubliette is showing to be a common on Gatherer. Uncommon. Excuse me. I thought.
Yeah, I don't think it's available.
Yeah, it's an uncommon, not a common. But Oubliette is a pretty powerful card in regular Four Horsemen. There are a few other, powerful cards as well. For example, the Brothers of Fire. I don't see Brothers of Fire in. Am I missing the brothers here in Max's deck?
He seems to have all my thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah. Did Max elect not to play Brothers of Fire and instead go for Orcish mechanics? That's what it kind of looks like to me, huh?
Do you want to speak, Peter, or shall I?
I'm not saying. I think it's a little bit of a delay, and I didn't want to cut you off either. I don't see it either. I don't see it though. I don't think he.
I don't remember seeing the Brothers of Fire. The only thing I will say about the Orcish mechanics is, I don't think he's running a lot of artifacts. Like, if I was him, I would have took the Orcish mechanics out and played the Brothers of Fire. If I'm honest, because you've got 2 Jadem Tome, 2 Clay Statue, and 2 Primal Clay. That's 6 cards to sack to Orcish mechanics. It doesn't seem like
it's quite a limited set of artifacts. Yeah, and if we toggle back to your deck, Terry, you've got the 2 statues. Well, you got the 4 statues, the Clay statues and the Primal Clays, the 4 Clays. Then you've got the 4 Jaloom Tomes, the 2 Jaloom Tomes, the 2 Fell Wars, and you're also playing a Bone Flute main deck. So you've got 9 artifacts versus his 6, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's I think only I'm 3 cards difference.
I would definitely say it works much better in Terry's deck, and it's not just for removing creatures, but just having that Orcish mechanic on board and some artifacts like the Fell Wars or the Bone Flute later in game. It is enough of a deterrent to keep people from attacking or making moves, because they know you can make an inferior block and sacrifice an artifact to finish off to trade for a better creature. That works very well like that.
Yeah, and when you've got cards like Brothers of Fire to complement the Orcish mechanics, as in Terry's deck here, plus you have Desert, and you've got Bone Flute. When you start to add these multiple ways to deal 1 point here, 1 point there, and as Terry was mentioning right before you joined us, Peter, the decision to either run Oasis or not run Oasis is actually pretty significant in these mirror matches, because an Oasis on your side, where if your opponent doesn't have it, can really mess with the combat math.
Yep, it's all about the combat math. It is. There's a certain amount of strategy that goes into the deck structure, and you're making a decision. Do I want to have more things that complicate my intro? Do I invest card spaces in things that complicate interactions and give me tricky options later that will present difficult math for my opponent? Or do I just play more creatures?
Yeah.
Play more obvious routes as well. Right. So there's a lot there.
Yeah.
And Max did go with Olympus, right? No, he didn't.
And when it comes to Max's deck, so some of the biggest differences are he's not running as many artifacts. Max is running Flood, and Flood is very powerful versus ground creatures. I mean, it's basically a moat in this Four Horsemen Pauper Doubleton format if you have a lot of blue. Also, interestingly, Max is running Unstable Mutation and Flying Men, which I thought was very, very interesting. And if you get that combo early, if you happen to get a Flying Man or any early creature, and you can unstable it early, it can be the difference. It can make all the difference in the match. And the unstable is also extremely powerful when you have things like Brothers of Fire, Desert, Grape Shot, Catapult. These cards really can pick off the smaller cards, and an unstable can protect you and get you in with damage, even if your opponent has those cards.
The only thing I will say about that is I played 2 Boomerang main, and I think one of the interactions, I can't remember if it was this match, but they were previously they played an unstable mutation. I was able to boomerang the creature back to his hand,
Yeah.
and then obviously the unstable mutation bounced off. So there's always that risk to it as well.
Yes. Yeah. And we saw that in the early tournaments. You know, things like giant strength are very powerful, and unstable is very powerful too. But you know, boomerang's a common, and you know there are ways to kind of even though those enchantments are very powerful, there are these sneaky little ways to get around them. And the active volcano as well as the flash flood are also both very, very cheap and powerful ways to just zap, you know, the creature card underneath, and then you lose your enchantment, and it's a 2-for-1 loss, you know.
Yeah, I mean sometimes as well. Like I think one of the interactions was he had a 4/4 flying man, so I let him go to combat attack, and then I boomeranged his unstable mutation and then blocked his flying man with my 2/4 ghost ship. So basically, it was a total blowout.
Oh yeah, that's rough. So he lost his creature, and you took no damage. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a double loss for him, and those are the types of, you know, in these fringe formats that are, you know, not the major old school stuff. You often don't get into these very, very, very tight math calculatory scenarios in combat, but in these Pauper formats or singleton formats, that tight combo math and these very, very intricate slight advantages, you know, the slight 2-for-1s here and there, those things are what add up and win you these games.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
It's all
Well,
about combat.
I think we're ready to get into the match now. Let me cue this up for us. One moment. All right. Can you guys see this okay?
Yep.
Yeah, I can, mate.
All right. And let me switch it over on the stream as well. All right, I've got this set to play at about 2x speed. So without further ado, we'll get right into this match. So we've got Max on the right-hand side of the screen and Terry on the left. And Terry, did you take time to look at the opponent's deck photos? Some players do and some don't.
I didn't actually for this match.
Not for this
but
one.
I did have it up whilst I was playing the match. So I was always, during game 1, I was always thinking, what could I sideboard out and what could I bring in against him.
Did we have deck photos at this point? I thought they were after a few matches we put up the deck
Well,
photos.
this is the quarterfinals. So Terry actually
Oh, it's
has...
the quarter.
Yeah, this is the quarterfinals. Terry has, I think he recorded all of his matches, including his group pod matches. So we didn't share the deck photos, you know, prior to the actual quarterfinals matches. So you know, we typically share them once we get to quarterfinals, mainly because a lot of people, you know, share and talk about their decks and their matches and things like that. But yeah, typically it's after the pod matches are completed, and when we move to top 8 is when we share the deck photos.
Right.
Okay, I rewound it just a little bit here. Looks like Terry drops a mountain turn 1, Max drops an island turn 1. So you're getting good mana here. It's really important to not miss mana land drops.
Yeah, definitely. I need to have both colors, so it's really important.
So you got the double red and can play the Fire Drake. And it looks like Max has an early Flash Flood.
Flash flood,
Yeah.
yeah.
Max's video quality is not the best here. I think he's probably got a bit of a upload bandwidth limitation. I know my upload is capped at 10 megabits. Anything less than 4 or 5 megabits when you're doing video can make it a little bit lower quality. Okay, so Terry, you're able to not miss any land drops and put a 4th turn ghost ship, yeah?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy at this point.
That's a very strong play.
And Max has hit all of his lands as well, and he gets a 3rd turn Drake and a 4th turn Rook Egg.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
All right, there's your Chain Lightning.
The interesting thing is that ghost ship and the fire drake would act they would actually be doing the same amount of damage in combat, although the ghost ship is a much better blocker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to think about things like that. When you're at parity, is this the moment you want to use up those precious resources to try to remove something and pull ahead?
Mm-hmm.
Is it necessary?
Yeah. Well, Max is really hitting all of his lands. He's got double red. It looks like he's missing double blue. And there's the Fisher to take out the ghost ship. Wow, that was really timely.
Lucky Terry. He didn't have a flash counter main deck, but that's Max. I wonder if he was aware of that.
Oh, actually, I think I boomeranged this back to my hand.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
Nice. You see, you had the 2 blue on open. And that's when you got to think about using up those precious resources. That may have been a very big moment in the match because you're getting your card back if he's not.
So you didn't have the triple. You didn't have the triple blue to regenerate, but you can't regenerate on Fisher anyways. Yeah. So you had the 2 blue and you had the boomerang and were able to respond and pop it back in.
That's something you really have to pay attention to in these matches. You have to look at what, especially on a red-blue matchup, what is untapped on the other person's side. And you think about their card pool, the cards that they still have left, what's in their graveyard, what they could still potentially play, why they've chosen to leave it like that. I think that's a moment where I personally would not have cast the Fisher right there. There's a lot of times you just have to force the person to tap their lands. So you have to think of a way to use what you have in your hand to make them tap their lands.
Yeah.
Before you use your best removal spell.
So that's his proxy for Ghost Ship on Max's side, I believe.
Yeah, it is,
Yeah, he would have been better to play out his own Ghost Ship first, I think, because it's just as valid as removing yours. Remove yours later would be my what I would have done.
So it's quite the back and forth battle right now. These are the types of great matches that we like to see. No one's really mana screwed. Everyone's kind of hitting and punching, and there's a lot of instance and back and forth interaction. It looks like Max is hitting more lands.
Yeah, I think I was stuck with a couple of Fisher and Pyrotechnics in hand, if I remember rightly, on this match.
And you're stuck at the 4 mana and can't use them. But you've got the clay statue and the primal clay. You did the 2/2 flyer, is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I was thinking about immolation, to be honest, but I decided to go with the flyer instead.
Okay, and there's a primal clay for Max as well, it looks like.
And I think with the Rook Egg on his side of things as well, it didn't make sense to make a 3/3.
That's right, yeah.
He went with a 3/3 on his?
No, I said it wouldn't have made sense if I made a 3/3 because he's got a Rook Egg. So, having the flyer meant more sense.
Oh, right, on your side. I can't quite make out the dice on Max's side. I mean, most of the time people are playing these as the 2/2 flyers, since flying is, prime card to have. But I can't quite tell if Max did that or not. I assume he did.
I wonder what he did choose, because it might have been interesting to make a 3/3 in this case, given what Terry has on his side.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking that. Okay, it looks like, Terry, you hit your fifth land, and we're able
taking care of business. There you go.
Taking care of business with the pyrotechnics. Yep.
And Terry, look at what Terry's noticing, that he has only a desert and a mountain on tap. There is no way that Max could possibly respond to that. There's no boomerang option for him, and I think he has it in sideboard anyway. But there's also pyrotechnics not an instant, so it can't be flash counted.
Yeah. So that's a good time to play the pyrotechnics because you don't really have to worry about responses.
Yep.
But that's also the 5th land. You were kind of stuck on 4 land for a while there, Terry.
Yeah, I was getting a bit concerned. But four I can cast most of the stuff in my deck anyway, so I knew it was only a matter of time before I got the 5th land.
Okay, so Max drops a Fire Drake of his own and passes.
I'm not a big fan. I had 1 Fire Drake in the main, but I wasn't a big fan of it, if I'm honest. And this pyrotechnics is amazing, by the way.
Oh man!
A second pyrotechnics.
Basically, white wood. Yeah.
That means I can crash him for 4 now, and that's huge.
Yeah, he's on a 4-turn clock all of a sudden. Now, he would need a pyrotechnics of his own right about now.
But then he could only deal with one. He could only kill one of the creatures. Yeah.
Right. It's just stay alive a little longer. Otherwise, he's in a very desperate situation here.
Yeah, I suppose like an immolation or a chain lightning on the primal clay would be good.
He's chosen to flash flood his own rook egg to make a 4/4 flyer.
Yeah.
I think that's a good decision.
So he's played both of his flash floods then, because he did an early flash flood on your Fire Drake.
Yeah, and
I don't know if I would use a flash flood on a Fire Drake, if I'm honest. I think I would save that for something a bit more substantial. But I don't know what he had in hand, so I can't make too much of a judgment.
Yeah, I think Max is not an experienced control player by any means. And I think that I agree with Terry's assessment that it's better to play out a creature as a blocker than to use up that excellent removal, which you might need later for like a Mountain Yeti.
Mm-hmm. And so now you're able to get out your Sage of Latnam as well as your Jaloom Tome.
Oof. Looking real bad for Max right now.
Yeah, so now you're going to start having some draw from the Jaloom Tome, and eventually you'll get more draw. If you happen to lose the clay, you can draw from that as well.
Yeah, I normally keep the Sage untapped unless unless he's on very low life total.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Max plays a clay statue which can regenerate, and he's electing not to attack with his rook 4/4 rook flying token. He at least had one chance there to attack when your ghost ship. You didn't have enough blue to regenerate your ghost ship. I'm surprised he didn't make that attack, because he could have gotten rid of the ghost ship there if you had elected to block.
Now he's in trouble because the mechanics come out. So now his rook egg that's just that type of combat trick. Now his rook egg is no longer able to make the block and necessarily survive.
Right. Yeah, so Terry...
Flash flood would be so good right now, wouldn't it? For that mechanic.
Yeah.
This is another situation where that he had good resources, maybe not as strong as the double pyrotechnics, but in hindsight, which is always 2020, he would have wished he'd not spent them earlier.
Yeah, so I'm going to pause the video. Let's talk about this a little bit here. So on 2 turns prior, Terry, you elected to play your Jaloom Tome and your Sage of Latnam in the same turn, which cost you 5 mana, and you basically only had 1 island untapped. And Max had his 4/4 flyer there. The regeneration on the ghost ship is a big problem. I wonder if Max thought about attacking with his rook token, because you would have either been forced to take the 4 damage, or you would have had to block with either your primal clay or your ghost ship. I think he had a chance to get rid of, you didn't have the Orcish mechanics yet, so he had a chance to either get in for 4 or take out one of your creatures, and he elected to play defensively instead of offensively there. And now you're getting set up with the follow-on turn with the Orcish mechanics.
If he had attacked the fourth
It would be
one,
bad.
if he had,
It would be bad.
sorry, yeah. I would never have at 20 life. I would never have blocked
Yep.
because he can attack with his 4/4, but on the swing back, I'd knock him down to 8. I mean,
Takes
so
another 4 back.
yeah. I would never have attacked. Sorry, I would never have blocked. Sorry.
Right.
I might have blocked. If it was up to me, I might have actually blocked with both of them, done a double block, and he would have lost his.
Then he could have
creature.
lost his
And I would-
token, right, and only
Flyer.
lost one creature.
Yeah. Even like that's the other option. It's not as good. I think I would have taken the damage on 20 life as well, but I would have removed a very troublesome creature, the superior creature on the board. I could have traded it for a primal clay, or probably more realistically the ghost ship. But that's maybe an okay trade in that situation.
The only thing I would be concerned with is like an immolation or a chain lightning, and then I would have lost 2 creatures, and he would have only lost 1. So I was just a little bit concerned.
Mhm.
And in terms of cards, I think he only had 1 or 2 cards in hand, so I think that's why I would have elected to take the damage, because even if he had like bloodlusted it, that would have been 8 damage. I would have been down to 12. I would have been on. He would be on 12, but then I'd swing him for 4. So I'm always looking at how many cards my opponent's got in his hand, and thinking, what is the worst case scenario? Has he got 2 bloodlust? Has he got a bloodlust plus a chain lightning? That could be 11 damage out of nowhere. So I'm always thinking, what's the worst case scenario?
That's smart.
That's very fair. You probably also may have already had the Orcish mechanic in hand, so you knew that you could just take that damage and have a better answer the following turn.
Yeah, definitely.
So Max gets up to 6 lands or 7 lands and has to pass. So he's still just sitting back defensively with the clay statue and the 4/4 rook token. Meanwhile, you're going to be drawing with your Jaloom Tome here.
And I'm also thinking about how much damage have I got on board with the Orcish mechanics, because I can start throwing the damage to his face. So I'm always constantly thinking I've got 6 damage on board with the Orcish mechanics. It's going to take me a couple of turns to do that damage, but I'm constantly thinking about that as well.
So that looks like his second ghost ship proxy. I think those were the only 2 proxies that Max had in his deck. They're very, very cheap and easy to get cards, but maybe Max didn't have time to grab some. Okay, so just playing the ghost ship and pass. So Max is in total defense mode, but also you're not attacking. You're just developing your board further here.
Yeah, I'm being patient. Obviously, that 4/4 on his side is. I didn't want to lose a creature, to be honest. But
well, there are some sneaky,
maybe
tricky things you can.
Maybe attacking with the ghost ship, and then maybe keeping up the regeneration mana.
Yeah, that's exactly. I was thinking, you mentioned this worst case scenario. Bloodlust is in the format, Fisher's in the format, Chain Lightning's in the format. Plus, you've got potential damage with your Orcish mechanics. You could be attacking with your ghost ship kind of on a fake out maneuver. Like if you leave all your mana available and you've got cards in hand, he's going to be wondering, why is he attacking straight into me with his ghost ship when I've got the rook token here. Things like that, when you're holding cards in hand, your opponent might, if they're a thoughtful player, be thinking, wow, maybe he has a bloodlust, or because you could bloodlust and regenerate, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was also aware as well that he had my deck list, so he knew that I wasn't playing Bloodlust. So I couldn't really pretend that I had it.
That makes sense
because he knew what my deck list was.
Got it. Yeah, that totally makes sense then. Okay, so now you're playing your second Primal Clay. You're putting a 1 counter on that. Does that mean it's a 1/6 wall? Doesn't that come in as a 1/6 wall if it's the ground?
Yeah, maybe I have made it 1/6. Maybe I'm a little bit afraid of the clay statue. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Looking back at this, Most probably should have just played a 2/2 flyer, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
All right, so clay statue number 2 comes in for Max. Wow, this is really quite a bit of back and forth. Although Max has not been able to get in for any damage, he's really starting to stabilize here, and he's got 3 regenerators at this point, plus the rook token.
I'm a little bit disappointed looking back at this, actually, because I'm thinking I maybe should be attacking with the ghost ship, but
that's
yeah,
what I was thinking as well. And you have the option. You have pyrotechnics and you have chain lightning, but you've used both of your pyrotechnics. But after combat, you can always chain lightning to get in that extra 3 damage in to kill off his token.
Only when Max doesn't have 2 mountains up.
Yes, because then he can
when
bounce
he
it back.
He can send that right back with a very troublesome creature.
Right.
I think Terry's doing the right. I mean, there are some problems with attacking. Does Max have 3 islands, by the way, or does he just have those 2?
It looks like Max has the 2 only. Yeah, so he cannot regenerate the ghost ship yet.
Yeah, he's good. His situation is going to improve if he can draw that extra island, but at the same time, Terry still has access to the Fisher.
Yeah.
And Terry has the book on board, so he's literally just pulling ahead of Max every turn.
Right, yeah.
He's the better position anyway.
Max looks like he's playing the Mountain Yeti. Now that is going to be a big problem unless Terry comes across a chain lightning or a boomerang or a flash flood or something like that. John and
Terry, you don't play flash flood though, do you, in the main?
No, I don't know. I don't play any flash flood in the main.
So Terry, you are drawing again with the Jaloom Tome. So you've drawn, I think, twice or 3 times with the Jaloom Tome now.
Yeah, it's twice so far because I used the 2 pyrotechnics.
That's right. So the 2 mountains are your 2 discards. Do you remember what you were thinking right here now that the Mountain Yeti is hitting the board? I mean, that could be a game changer.
Yeah, I was concerned.
Okay,
he's thinking, I'm so glad I just threw Brothers of Fire. That's the answer to the Mountain Yeti right there. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah, because I've got the Orcish mechanics and the activation of Brothers of Fire.
Yeah, so now you can deal with the 3/3 Mountain Yeti no problem. You can deal 1 with the brothers and toss an artifact, and then he's dead.
Yeah. So, Max absolutely has to deal with those Brothers of the Fire right now on his next turn.
Yeah.
In some way. The chain lightning would be fantastic for him.
Yes, chain lightning or even unstable mutation could help right here.
Yeah, that's true. Those 3 red. Is that a mechanic?
Yeah,
that is an Orcish mechanic.
He's going to have to sacrifice something good, though. He should attack with one of the clay statues, the one he intends to sacrifice. That's what I would do. Oh, no, he can't because he just played it. It's not going to work. No, what am I saying? It's coming in.
And also, I've got a 1/6, haven't I? A 1/6 wall.
Yeah, the 1/6 wall. I guess that's why you decided to go that route, huh? Because he's mounting up on these clay statues, and by playing the wall, it completely shuts down all of his ground creatures until he gets the Yeti out.
Yeah.
And the Drake, too. Yeah, he's got a lot.
Yeah, and he can't use the mechanics this turn since it's a tap ability, so he has to wait until next turn. But he's electing to attack with the Yeti anyways. He's got 2 blue up. Boomerang could be like the game-deciding card right now.
I think if I had Boomerang, I would have got rid of the Rook Egg.
Well, I'm thinking Max. Max, does he...
Oh, right. Oh, Max, yeah.
Let me look back at his deck and see. Okay, Max is running the boomerangs on his sideboard, not main board. You've got, Terry, you've got your boomerangs main.
Yeah.
Okay, so a bit of thoughtful contemplation here, and looks like you're activating you've tapped the Orcish mechanics.
Yeah, I think this is a mistake, if I'm honest.
You're contemplating drawing with the tome, and then maybe tossing the tome. Now that he's got the Mountain Yeti and you know you have to get rid of it, maybe you're electing to sacrifice the Jaloom Tome and then desert the Yeti.
Oh yes, that's what I'm doing. Sorry. Yep. That makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
And you get the draw. Are you drawing as well and then discarding?
I'm not drawing. I'm just activating desert.
Oh, you elected not to activate the tome there and just straight up sacrifice it. Well, was it already tapped?
No, it wasn't. But I think I forgot one card in hand, and that card might be very good. So, hang on, what's going on here? So,
maybe you're thinking about taking out his Orcish mechanic first.
I was actually, but then I remembered I had Brothers of Fire, if I remember rightly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, in a casual match, these types of takebacks are, very friendly, allowed. In the tournament games, depending on who your opponent is, they may not be so kosher with these types of takebacks.
Yeah, I think I was talking to him. I was saying, I'm just thinking about this, and then so he was pretty. We were pretty relaxed about it. I was just saying, hang on a minute, let me think about this, and so yeah, I think he was pretty chill about it.
So this is a pretty critical moment.
The mechanics now.
Okay, so you're targeting the mechanics instead of his Orcish mechanics instead of the Yeti. Is that right?
No. I killed the Yeti the turn before, and then this is my turn after I killed the Yeti, and I've activated Brothers of Fire and passed the turn.
But the Orcish mechanics are a 2/2, right? Or are they a 1/1?
They're 1/1.
Oh, they're a 1/1. Okay, gotcha. That's right. I was thinking they were a 2/2. I'm thinking of the Desert Nomads.
I thought they were a 1/2, but
so they are vulnerable. The Orcish mechanics are vulnerable to the one damage from the brothers or any other 1 damage. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. So, but what did you sacrifice? Why is his Mountain Yeti still in the graveyard? I'm confused.
Because
he did the damage with the desert.
The time before, I activated the Orcish mechanics and then activated Desert to kill his Mountain Yeti. Then during my main phase, I activated Brothers of Fire to kill his Orcish mechanics and then passed the turn.
Oh.
Then he's took his. Now it's my turn again.
So you activated the brothers twice last turn?
No, just once.
Just once.
Okay, but the Mountain Yeti is a 3/3. Oh, well.
It attacked. He used the desert on it because it had attacked, and he threw the book at it.
But you.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay, and then
he got on the wrong side of his Jaloom Tomb, and the mechanic slapped him with it.
Yes, but the Jaloom Tomb is being used again now to kill the.
It's not on the board.
Oh no, that's the brothers. You use the brothers to kill the Orcish mechanics. Okay.
And he used the brother to fire on his main turn. And
Okay. I'm following now. Okay, so the brothers are like just totally wrecking things at this point.
Oh, they can make his life so miserable. Those clay statues are already useless because he just has superior blockers. And the desert, so those clay statues are worse than garbage right there. But he can just pick them off as well whenever he wants to.
Yeah, so it's looking more and more and more like there's just no hope for Max here.
Yeah, if I was Max, I'd probably say it's okay to scoop now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, don't talk too fast at the moment.
Oh yeah, we'll see where it goes. I forget, there's not too many reversing cards in this format. Just think about what Max has played out and the problems he now faces. But you're right. You should not give up while you got those 2 flyers on the board still.
Okay, so Max is contemplating what can he do to get out of this situation? I think he's got 3 cards in hand. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
It looks like you have 1 card in hand face down over there, Terry, on your left. Is that right?
Yeah, I think the bone flute's going to change things here, though.
Oh, yeah. Bone flute just, I mean, it's completely like neuters a lot of the attacks. -1, -0 from all attacking creatures. Really can swing the combat math.
I'm activating brothers here.
Okay, you're
I'm just
activating
doing it
brothers to just target Max.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's now 11-12, so Max has been able to, because you've had to activate the brothers a few times, he's been able to
I think it's 11:15. 11:15.
Oh, it's 7:15. Sorry. It looks like it's reversed. It's mirrored on mine, so. Okay, so it's 11:15, but still, I mean, it was 12-20 for quite a while.
But if Max can find those 2 pyrotechnics right now, like right now, he maybe could hang in there.
There's an immolation.
Goodbye, brother. Maybe. For the mechanic.
Yeah, which one would you target here? The mechanic, right?
Ooh, mechanic. Oof, no. Well, maybe. They're both pretty bad.
So he can throw you. So are you throwing you're throwing the flute at him in response to that? Is that right, Terry?
Yeah. Looking back at this, I'm not too sure about that. Yeah.
Well, you're getting him down to you're getting him down a couple more points, and now you're doing a ping with the brothers at the end of turn. It looks like. I mean, you got to give Max some credit here. It was looking really depressing for him, and he's really hung in there. He's been playing very defensively to try and really claw his way back into the game. He's done a really good job of that, despite your constant onslaughts.
I do think as well, though, we're underestimating his desert on his side, because that desert's been there for a long time, and that does affect the combat maths.
Oh yeah,
quite a lot. So it's a little bit tricky with that desert on his side.
Yeah.
I know I've got it, but yeah, like he's got the 4/4 rook, he's got a 2/4 flyer with. I know it's not. He hasn't got regenerate at the moment, but also the desert. So that's like seven damage potentially.
Yeah, that's right. This entire time he's been unable to ever be able to regenerate that ghost ship. So, oh, here's the chain lightning, but you've got double red up. You could bounce it back. Okay.
Max still has 2 more red as well. I don't know if Terry would bounce it back. I wonder. On the life total, maybe. That would be interesting.
Yeah. Okay, so you're drawing. You're drawing here with the. With the blue. With the sage, yeah, the blue sage. You're so he targeted. He used his chain lightning to target your primal clay, and then you sacked it. Is that right?
Yeah, to draw a card, which was actually quite useful at the time.
Yeah.
Oof, really? I don't agree with that necessarily. I think I would have hit the brothers at fire.
Yeah, the brothers would have been a much better target because of this very thing. You can just sack it to the sage and draw. Maybe he's hoping you would bounce it back, and then he can bounce it to your brothers. Okay, so you're tapping. You're tapping a lot. 2 blue, 2 red, and a desert for the Fisher.
Oh man.
And you're electing to Fisher his rook token. Okay.
No, the ghost ship.
Not the ghost ship. Yeah, not the ghost ship, because he still can't regenerate on the ghost ship, even though he has it because of the two lack of 1 more blue. Now, Terry, you're able to attack, double attack finally.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I'm just missing that those 4 mountains, because with Brothers of Fire, doing that 2 damage per turn compared to 1 is massive.
Yeah, but you will eventually get it, and then it's going to be a real big challenge for Max. Losing that Rook token, that was really his strong defense. So Max is thinking what to do. I'm going to be taking 4 damage, or am I going to lose my... If he blocks with his ghost ship, it's a 2/4, right?
Yeah, they just bounce. Yeah,
they would bounce. But if you have a chain lightning or the brothers, you need to be able to double brothers. Well, no, you could brothers, and you could. Well, no, that's on the defense. The desert could work on the defense, but not on the offense. So, yeah, you need a chain lightning. So he must be wondering, do you have a chain lightning in hand?
Or an immolation. An immolation would have done it.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, so did he just take he took 2 damage and blocked one of them? Is that what he did?
Yeah, he did.
Okay. And this is a proxy on your side, Terry. What is that?
That's a Rook Egg.
The Rook Egg. Okay, that's right. You had proxied Rook Egg, and he had proxied Ghost Ship.
Yeah. You're going to be very surprised about what happens now.
Well, don't give away any spoilers. But yeah, okay. So the chain lightning that's in Max's graveyard, did he use that? That was what he used on your primal clay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. You definitely decided not to bounce it back, because he certainly could have taken out your brothers if that had been the case.
Yeah. And also, I drew the extra card with the Sage anyway, so I was still up a card. I hadn't actually lost a card at that point, because I just replaced the primal clay with another card from the top. So.
Right. Yeah, with the draw. Okay, so Max is, looks like Max has got. He's probably got 4 or maybe 5 cards now in hand. I can almost see his top card there.
Cards, yeah.
Looks like he's got a chain lightning on the top, I think is what I caught a glimpse of there. You got to be careful on these webcam matches to make sure you don't show your hand. Okay, so he passes turn, and you elect to Brothers of Fire again, and you're coming in again with the Drake and the Ghost Ship.
So Harry might now be holding a land secretly in his hand right now.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to do so. Okay, so he blocks 1, takes 2, goes from 5 down to 3. It's now 3 to 13. Max is in. Oh, I can see I can see a bloodlust. I can see a bloodlust. So I can see a chain lightning. I can see a bloodlust. I can see an unstable. Max is showing his hand here. It's not good.
Oh, I can.
And I see an immolation. I see an immolation as well.
What I will say is, obviously, just put the cards down flat like I am, because you avoid that from happening.
Okay, immolation goes on the Ghost Ship. So now the Ghost Ship goes from a 2/4 to being a 3. Oh, and then an unstable. Oh my goodness. Holy shit.
Well, you can brothers it though now, can't you? No, you can't, because he played them in the wrong order though. No, you didn't have enough mountains. No, you're right. If you had that extra mountain.
So wow, so he's coming in for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's hitting for 7, and the bloodlust 8, 9, 10, 11. Holy shit.
I don't understand why he's not attacking.
And now he chain lightnings you for 3. Oh my god.
Whoa. Oh my god.
Wow.
What?
Holy crap.
Yeah.
What?
Okay, so he
literally every single card in his hand he used to finish me off.
Wow.
Whoa. that swing back was, and that extra mountain would have been so critical right there too. Eh?
Now
There-
wait a
Yeah.
minute. Wait a minute. Wait a
Yeah.
minute. So he's okay. So he's hitting you for the
Holy
unstable
smokes.
is 3, the immolation is 2, so that's a 5 extra. So that's 7 on the ghost ship plus 4 more makes 11. Then
11,
he's
and
chain
3,
lightning
4,
you
14. 14 damage.
for 14 damage. Now, the chain lightning can it be bounced back as an instant, or is it a sorcery?
I
Because
think I'm already dead. I think it already kills me, doesn't it?
Did he have enough? Because if you bounce the chains back, yours kills him first.
that's what I was thinking. If you bounce the chain back and then you brothers him, you could brothers him as an instant here in response, and you could then hold priority and then bounce the chain back to him, and then
I think the chain's 2 red mana though, isn't it? I think I've only got 3 mountains, so I think the chain is double red to bounce back.
But see why? Yeah, I'll tell you why it wouldn't matter, because Max has 2 mountains left. He could bounce it back again in response.
oh
And then
yes,
his would do.
oh yes, that's
So that,
right.
maybe that wasn't noticed, but at least it wasn't played necessarily wrong. Let's just say that the LP, like, I don't think you gave it. I don't know what the life total was exactly, but if he did need the chains to finish you, and you had bounced it back, he could yet again bounce it back.
Yeah, you're right, Peter. Yes, wow.
Yeah.
So that
And
finishes.
also, sorry, Chad. And also as well, it wouldn't have what you were saying with the Brothers of Fire is it wouldn't have worked because I didn't have enough mountains. So
That wouldn't work.
yeah.
The brothers wouldn't have worked, but the chain might have. If Max had tapped differently, if he hadn't left 2 mountains up afterwards, he couldn't have. Well, let's just count it. Can you hold on? He had played the unstable with the blue, and then he had the. Oh, well, it's gone. Doesn't matter. But he should have been more careful of how he was tapping. To be honest, he should have left as much red up as possible.
Well, yes. He needed 1 blue and 2 red, so he did it right. He did 1 blue and 2 red, 1 for the immolation, 1 for the bloodlust, and 1 for the chain. So he
2 for the bloodlust.
no,
Bloodlust is 2.
yes, but he's tapping the.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's got immolation is 1 red, chain lightning is 1 red. Bloodlust is 1 red and another, so he needs to tap the, and he played the unstable, so he actually needs to tap the desert or the other blue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's not
but I think-
tapping. He has enough mana to play it, but he's not actually tapping all of his mana to play all of these spells yet. Maybe he does it towards the end, but it's an.
Well, there's a shiny card. There's a shiny card right there. I can't
Oh,
see. Is that a
that's
land underneath
yeah,
it?
below the desert. That's probably his other mountain then.
Yeah. I was just gobsmacked at that point because I thought I was so far ahead, and I just didn't expect 14 damage from nowhere, basically.
Wow, that was an unbelievable, just amazing
Wow.
turn. What a surprise.
Out of nowhere.
Go Max.
He
Wow.
was just storing up for this massive alpha strike. Wham!
So you must have been in complete and utter shock, Terry.
At the time I was in shock, but I just thought, well, actually, I'm not going to let it get to me because he used every single card in his hand. Obviously, if you got it, you got it, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I just thought, let's just go to the next match, and I thought after sideboarding anyway, I was highly favoured after sideboard, so
Yeah.
I was confident going into the games 2 and 3.
Well, let's take a look back at the decks real quick, and let's talk about our sideboarding options. Let me reshare with you, gentlemen, the PowerPoint slides. Okay, so can you guys see the deck pictures okay here?
It's just loading at the moment.
Okay.
Oh, there it is.
It's right.
Okay. So, Terry, talk us through what you're thinking about sideboarding now.
So straight away, I was thinking 2 active volcano, 2 flash flood, I was also thinking about the flash counter. And what else was I thinking? To be honest with you, I don't think I brought in much else than that. To be honest, I don't think I only brought in. I'm not even sure if I brought in the flash counter. Actually, I think I might have just only brought in 4 cards. So basically, the 2 flash blood and the 2 active volcano, because I thought everything else wasn't really that good against his particular deck. Like the psychic purge isn't great. The 2 fountain of youth isn't great. Maybe the Feldon's Cane, like the Feldon's Cane in I do like Feldon's Cane against UR control matchups, because if the games go long, you're getting back all your good creatures and spells and artifacts,
Right.
and the likelihood of you drawing land in the mid to late game is quite low, because I presume you've already drawn like maybe 10, maybe 11 land anyway. So you normally top decking spells.
Right. Yeah, so that's that is a lesson and a piece of wisdom that you have kind of learned from 7-Point Singleton, right? Is the Feldon's Cane?
Yeah, definitely. And I've there's situations where I've like gone really late into like the last 6 or 7 cards, reshuffled my Feldon's Cane, and then drew a Brain Geyser and made him draw the rest of his deck, and then pass the turn to him and win that way. So Feldon's Cane's really, really good.
Right. And like you said, it gets all your damage spells back. It gets all your... I mean, you still have to draw it, but, that can make the difference. So I would see why the Feldon's Cane would be an interesting sideboard card. But if the game doesn't go long, then it's kind of...
I was going to say, everyone missed it. Everyone but Terry missed the Feldon's Cane. I don't think is anybody else playing Feldon's Cane?
I can look back through the deck pictures. They're on the website. If you
you
want
don't have to. I can just remember from decks I've seen. I certainly didn't include it, but I can say one other thing that is brilliant about it. Well, 2 things. One, he has the Orcish mechanic, so he's putting another potential 2 damage on board of the mechanic, because he's found that that's been useful. But even mid-game, before you get to those 6 cards, when you are at the point where you are halfway into your deck, or just past it, maybe 2/3 into your deck, if what's left in your deck now is approximately that regular distribution of land to spells.
Right.
But if you at that point choose to use the Feldon's Cane, everything from your graveyard is basically the things that person did not want you to have.
Yeah.
The other person would not want, and now you're putting them back in, and now the ratio of lands to spells becomes much more tilted in favor of that gas that you're going to need to like edge out the rest of that match. You're just going to be drawing much better cards.
Right.
So I think it's good then. I overlooked it. I thought it was not worth it as a card. I don't know if it'd be worth it if I wasn't running Orcish mechanic, but I think it is that maybe it should have been. I think that's something I didn't see. And that ratio, changing the ratio mid-game with Feldon's Cane really can put you in a super better place to finish off the game.
I just sent you guys the link to the deck pictures. It's fourhorsemenmagic.com/tournaments /tournament10, and then hashtag deck picks, and you can see all the players' decks from the Pauper 10 Doubleton tournament there. But okay, so your sideboarding is limited here to probably those 4 cards. If we look at Max's deck, Peter, if you were Max, what would you be sideboarding in here, given what you saw in game 1?
The active volcanoes, the boomerangs, the flash counter, 4 spike, maybe. I don't know if I have enough stuff I want to take out to justify putting the 4 spike in.
Yeah, it's interesting that the Sage of Latnam is over in Max's sideboard, along with Blazing Effigy, Giant Strength. Max's sideboard is very interesting.
Yeah. I think he confessed to me that he wasn't really sure what to do with it. But he was telling me, I really don't know what to put in the sideboard. He says, I'm thinking about Blazing Effigy, and I was, I'm like, if you need a strictly worse rook egg, yes, I suppose.
Well, Blazing Effigy early game can act as a blocker, and late game, Well, you don't have a way to throw it though. You need.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with Blazing Effigy. It doesn't block anything that you need to block.
Right. He needs to block the flyers.
He wants to block the Mountain Yeti. That's what he wants to block, but you can't block it because it's going to have Mountain Walk.
Right.
And everything. There's very few ground creatures that don't have evasion, that don't have an amazing ability, and most of the ground creatures that have an amazing ability. One of those abilities would either be regeneration, or the other one would be an ability where you just would never attack into a Blazing Effigy with it, like the Orcish mechanic. You'd never attack with the Brothers of Fire. And I just wouldn't do those type of things.
Yeah. Well, one interaction here is you could use the Flash Flood with Blazing Effigy, and it does 3 damage to a creature. So it takes 2 for 1, which is not good. But the Mountain Yeti is so difficult to deal with. Your only other option is to hope to get up double desert and then
But why don't you just flash flood the Mountain Yeti to begin with at that point?
Yeah, that was a really obvious blunder there. But that's
how my kids make a sandwich. You know, like my kids will make a sandwich. They're not anyway. Just bugs me, buddy.
I was just trying to think of, is there any other way to, sack the effigy in order to kill the Yeti? And there really isn't. So you're right. So the effigy is completely useless.
It's a terrible card.
Yeah. Now, the boomerang might buy him an extra turn or 2. The Force Spike.
But wait, the thing is though, I'm saying that based on a UR matchup. Maybe when you're running into people who are playing red-green or black, maybe they have a ground. Maybe he has it there as a thought there, and he needs a good ground blocker early on, and he recognizes he doesn't have good blockers. So it's not bad card necessarily in the sideboard. It's just not any good in this matchup.
Right. And I don't know if Max looked at the deck pictures or not. What do you think, Peter? You've got to know Max a bit. Do you think he looked at Terry's deck picture?
A big coin toss right there. You know what? Pat was playing Urg Raiders, and I'd say the effigy would have been very good there, by the way. Just, some creatures that would have been very, very good against. Combage Witches, very good against.
Let's think about what we saw Terry play in terms of instance in Game 1. We saw Fishers, and that was it. Well, did we see a boomerang? We saw a boomerang, didn't we?
Yeah.
So boomerang is basically the Four Horsemen version of Swords to Plowshares for the Rook token, right? Like that's what you're gonna hold boomerang until they get their Rook token. At least that's what I would do. So
I think what you're saying though with the flash counter, you're saying about the flash.
I'm thinking about flash counter. Yeah, I would put flash counter in.
You've got the active volcano, you got the flash floods, you got the remove souls, you got the boomerangs, you got the fishers. That's 10 targets for the flash counter. So flash counter could be pretty good.
Yes,
you're playing a lot of instances. I would have probably so the force spike probably I wouldn't have put, but I would have put the active volcanoes in. I would have put the flash counters.
And I would also put in the boomerangs and maybe the grape shot catapults. The grape shot catapults with desert and orcish mechanics could be the differentiator on these air combat math scenarios.
He just has to take something out though to do it. So like let's say he takes out easy to take out flood because it's not going to be a
flood is out of there like right out of the gate. Flying Min needs to go. Flying Min is vulnerable.
Too, he should take out the unstable mutation, but he's going to have a hard time believing to do that considering it won in the game. Yeah,
that's true. I would take the Flying Min out without a second thought because Desert gets rid of it. Orcish Mechanics can ping it. Brothers of Fire can ping it, and Grape Shot Catapult can ping it. Interestingly, Terry, you're not running Grape Shot Catapult, but
no.
It's one of those cards that like we all played with as kids. It was in Antiquities, but it was also like reprinted in 4th edition, and it seems very, very bad, and it is. But in Pauper, it's actually a powerhouse. It's a 2/3 blocker on the ground, and it can ping anything in the air at any time. So it's very strong in this format.
I think the 4 mana, I just couldn't justify the 4 mana. Maybe I didn't play it when I was a child because I didn't start playing until Tempest, so I didn't get that experience with the card itself. So maybe that's why I underestimated it. What I will say is the 8 cards that I would take out for me would be the 2 Flying Men, the 2 Unstable Mutation, the 2
Flood.
Orcish Mechanics, and the 2 and the 2 Flood, because and then I would bring in the 2 Boomerang, the 2 Active Volcano, the 2 Flash Counter, and the 2 Grape Shot Catapult.
Yes, I agree with that. The other thing that I would seriously consider is he's really not going to need his clay statues. Like, let's be honest. What on the ground was he really worried about? Those clay statues, if you're taking out the Orcish mechanics, frankly, I think the clay statues have to go. And what I would do is I would put in those 2 giant strengths. And the reason I would do that is in the mirror matchup, if he gets a Rook Egg or even a Mountain Yeti or a Ghost Ship or an Azure Drake, the giant strength makes that creature +2/+2, and that could really sway things on the mirror match.
Yeah, you got a good point there, actually.
Now,
I disagree. I disagree only because I don't like putting cards in my deck that are going to get 2 for 1.
well, but you've got the
He goes to
Boomerang.
Captain, Terry's got Boomerang. Terry's got the what do you call it? The Flash Flood for some of the things in the Active Volcano. He's got Fisher. He's got 6 responses to it that he could do to make you lose that card for nothing.
True.
And I think that it didn't work out well this time with the clay statue, but if Terry doesn't have something to deal with the clay statue, it's a problem. It becomes a problem right away unless it's not. Like, that's what it is. It didn't become a problem this time, but I've seen it be a problem for people to deal with. It just really depends what they have in their hand.
Yeah. Well, the other options are to look at some of the other weaker cards. You've got to leave Immolation in so you can deal with the mechanics. But, you pointed it out earlier, Terry, that you didn't really think that the Fire Drake is all that impressive.
I think something that you have to sink 1 extra mana in for 1 point of power more is not very good. Personally, I mean, if it was like a Shivan Dragon and you can pump in, I don't know, 3 or 4 red mana, that's fantastic. But for me, just making it a 2/2 at the most, it just, I don't know, it just didn't feel very good for me.
Well,
I didn't feel it was very good when I played the first Pauper Singleton, but I begrudgingly put 1 in my deck and 1 in the sideboard just because I was running out of cards to put, And it turned out to be a card I sideboarded in every single match. It earned its spot in the deck because it's another 2/2 flyer when you need it to be.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a 1/2, which is okay. It doesn't die to desert.
Right.
Which is big. It's huge. It doesn't die to desert. It doesn't die to a single damage from anything.
Right.
And it can be a 2/2, and it really will just block. It'll just trade with a clay statue. I mean, a primal clay. It'll trade with a primal clay. It'll do as much damage as a Ghost Ship or as an Azure Drake on the swing back. Like, to me, it's way better than it looks. Like, it's so much better than it looks. It looks like crap.
Well, then
it looks really not even. It looks worse than a Flying Man almost in some ways.
Well, I had 1 in the main, and I don't know. I didn't see it enough to. When I did see it, I don't know. I seem to have mana issues, and I never really wanted to pump the 1 extra red into it for some reason. I never had the mana to do it. So.
Well, then the other option would be to take a look at Primal Clay. If you're going to take out the Orcish mechanics, you could justify taking out some artifacts. The Primal Clay is probably the weakest of all these artifacts here.
I don't know about that. I think the flexibility of Primal Clays. Look at it the last game where we turned it into a 1/6. Those clay statues were literally like hanging out throughout the entire.
Which is part of why I was saying that he should look at the Primal Clays, or excuse me, the clay statues, and really ask, do I really need these in here? I mean, something needs to come out artifact-wise if you're bringing out the Orcish mechanics, because, the mechanics with the artifacts are really the way to go, and he knows everything is about the air combat anyway. So I know it's risky, but I think knowing it's the mirror, kind of a mirror matchup, he's got to ask himself, if this is a mirror match, how can I gain some edge? And he found a way to do it in match 1. It was unstable mutation with immolation. If that immolation had been a giant strength, he could have done the same thing, comboing that with bloodlust. Like that's just an amazing, immaculate, alpha strike win. He's gonna have to do something like that again because he was falling way behind.
If he had done what you just said, he would have tapped that extra red. He would not have been able to throw the chain back at Terry if Terry threw it at him, and he would have lost the match.
Fair enough. The immolation was the perfect card, and I love immolation. That's a card we all played with as kids, and it's always been good as a common. I'm just trying to stress the point that like Max was really far behind, and he saw that